Welcome to the Farmer on the Wall. I've got the Minecraft noise, my yelling kids in the background, so you can enjoy that while we talk about it. These four Exos hard drives feed over to a PCIe controller right here. And I've got two more Exos plus the system drive and a variety of random drives that I had, 6 terabytes, 2 terabytes. They all feed to the motherboard here. And then I've got another flanking 4 Exos drives. Those all feed into the other PCI slot. They all SATA 3 or SATA, whatever the 600 megabit one is, pretty quick. I got 3 external drives here feeding into the USB drives. It's a very old motherboard. It's like a 2008 motherboard, but it does the job. Got a fancy Phenom processor. You can see here, I got a HDD LED activity light, which is just bright and happy. Then I got, of course, an RGB power switch, because why not? With a little reset switch above it. So that is the Farmer on the Wall. See you shortly for the after hours one. So you've seen that sweet Farmer on the Wall. This is the plotter under my desk. And all day it does nothing but burn up my NVMe drive as best it can. You can see here, it's just hammering it. This is a 551 megasecond NVMe SSD, and the thing is amazing. If we go here, you can see I've written almost 700 terabytes of the thing, and it just takes it. So this 970 Evo Plus is not at all designed, nothing's designed for plotting, but it takes it. It just takes all the plots I can throw at it. And you can see it hasn't even hit. There's an available spare. The way NVMe SSDs work is they have a remaining life estimated. That means they can only do so many writes. I'm sure it's a legal thing where it gets to 0% and it fails. They're like, whoops, we gave you 100% life. But Brian Downey, the amazing Chia plotter, who actually entertains all my crazy Chia plotting conversations, says he's had it down to 0%. It works fine. He hasn't even touched the available spare yet. What it does is once it gets to 0% writable and it starts getting bad sectors, in other words, it can't write to certain sections anymore of the drive, then it starts using this available spare. So I'm going to burn this drive all the way down to 0% and then keep on going until the available spare finally starts going down. See how long it'll let me go before it just completely quits on me. But you can see I'm just destroying it, and it's an absolute blast. The CPUs, I had to set these to affinity to me, because if I let the plotter use all these threads, I couldn't do anything. So these two CPUs right here are letting you, these two threads are letting you listen to my fantastic voice on my fantastic plotter while I'm telling you what's going on here. So we got the drive health. You see that I've written 698 terabytes, which is a lot. I'm not currently sending over Ethernet, but I max out that Gigabit connection too, which is another, I just love maxing out hardware. So this last plot took 77 minutes. So when I first started these videos, I think it was taking me 3 hours because we're using a different plotting algorithm. Whoever Mad Max plotter came up with, it's nuts. He just burns the CPU, burns the drive, goes as fast as he can, and gets it down to 77 minutes a plot, which is nuts. Then that's about 100 gigabytes every plot. You can see it starts copying it and immediately starts creating another plot while it's copying. And then you can see it finished copying right here. Took about 1,000 seconds to copy over my gigabit network from this plotter over to that farmer. And you can see it was almost 100. It was almost a gigabit a second. There's network overhead that happens, but it's about as fast as you can expect through a gigabit network. So it's the drives cranking plots, the network's sending them over to that farmer on the wall as fast as it can. It's just really cool to watch this. My laptop actually cranks them out in 60 minutes because they got a little bit faster drive. But between the two of them, I should be able to fill up my 14 terabyte drive I just got in no time, and that'll put me up to a lot of plots. So speaking of which, we will go over to the farmer. That's this guy. Lots of drives. I did run out of drive letters once, just for fun. I threw a bunch of USB drives on there that could hold a plot, and for giggles, I ran all the way out of drives. What happens after that, if you run out of drives, you have to start doing mount points. So then you would do a folder within here, make another mount point folder. That would be your new drive, because Windows flat out won't give you more than the 24 letters that you get out of the alphabet, which is fine with me. Because there's no way I'm going to put more USB drives in there. I don't need, the drives that I have are fine. The ones that are highlighted here are physical drives. These are the drives you saw on the wall on the farmer, and I just, you know, spinning platters that store information. So they're physical drives that are on that machine. This spam drive is kind of the scraps. I found out that when you fill up a drive with plots that are 100 gigs each, you're going to have some leftover space where you can't fit another 100 gig plot. So I took all these down to 50 megs. You can see the free space on these is 51 megs. I took down all the space I could down to 51 and used the rest to span. So I got a section of this drive, a section of this drive, and a section of this drive, all the scraps off the drives. That created this S drive, which I'm hoping I'll get a little bit more off the one I'm trying to fill, the H and the D drive, so I can bring this up to over 600. That's 6 extra free plots just from the scrap space on these drives. So it's really fun to go through and partition these things and get it to the point where I can absolutely fill up every drive with every spot of space with plots. I did not want to mess with these with my external ones you saw. You saw the 3 external ones on the drive. I'm not going to touch those because they're removable. I don't want to put a span on here and risk losing 6 plots, and it's not worth it. There's not that much extra space on these anyway. I think it's like one of them's close to another plot, but not really worth it. So back to the drives, we have the physical drives. This is the span drive. Again, this is the span or the scrap drive. It's got extra stuff on there. These are the 3 externals we saw. The C drive is a dedicated SSD. That's that flat SSD you saw. And if you go in here, all it does is store the database of the blockchain. So that's going to be 78 gigs is the Chia blockchain. And when this thing gets corrupt or goes bad, you do not want to try and rebuild it, because this thing on the node will just build and build for weeks trying to get this blockchain back up to the full height that it's at now. So it's easier just to download this file and start that way. It's not even worth waiting while this thing builds it up. But you can see I'm currently synced, which means I can farm, and I am pooling. So that means that when I win one of these Chia lottery tickets, I keep 0.25 and I send the other 1.75 of my winnings to the pool. In turn, everybody else, when they win, sends me their 0.75 or whatever, 1.75 winnings, and we spread it out. So all these right here are wins from people on the pool. Well, each one's like a bunch of wins. They kind of add them together. You can see here I actually did a win. So that means I won a full 2 Chia, but because I'm pooling, I gave 1.75 of it to the pool. Mr. Hotshot Brian Downey, Chia pooler, who has probably triple the plots as me, and he is hot stuff. He does not pool. He runs his own farm, and he has in his plots, or in the farmer, he doesn't share it to anybody. Every Chia he gets is his own. He doesn't send it out to anybody else. Me, I'm kind of addicted to the individual payout. These are like little hits every time. Like you get a little hit every time one of these come in, you just get some feel-good hits. This one would have been cooler. I had full 2 Chia, but the other feel-good hits after were worth it for me. So I'm sticking with the pool. At least for now. I might change. You can see I'm up to 8 Chia. I did dump 3 Chia early on when it was worth something. I think it was worth 250 bucks then. So that was a good chunk of change to pay for some hardware. Now it's pretty much worthless, so I'd say tops I'm making 10 bucks a week on this thing. But just the entertainment value of watching everything max out. See if everything's copying right now. This is again the farmer machine. I don't have anything copying to it, but when I do, you can watch this max out at the Gigabit, and then the drive will hit about 60 to 70. Because these, you can see it's K and S because I got the little span one on here. These Exos drives can do about 250 megasecond writes, which is amazing for how much space they store. And you know, it's not SSD speed, but you don't need it. Really wish another plot was coming because that looks cool. But at least we got a win on the video because that's neat to see. Again, am in pooling, may not stay on pooling. If you like the little hits, stick with the pooling. If you want to, you know, if you want to go big or go home, then don't pool. You can see here's the bump when I actually won. So if you want to go big or go home, don't pool. If you like these little hits for the feel-good hits, then stick with the pool. I also have a script I wrote because, again, the guy who tolerates my nonsense and listens to me talk about nonsense nonstop with his Chia loves to script, so I played around with the PowerShell. This little script goes through and grabs pretty much everything I'd ever want to know about this machine, and I'll put it in the description. It actually spits it out to my web server, because who wouldn't want to know all about my Chia farmer? It tells you what's going on with a Chia farmer. running 10-year-old hardware because it's hilarious. So this is the last BIOS release. It was probably 2008 is when this motherboard was made. A Phenom 2 19955, which is old, way older than my kids. So it's funny that I have this old processor running this stuff, but it does enough. You can see performance-wise, it doesn't have any trouble because it's not really doing anything that's intense. And then it's got free memory size. It says I'm farming to pool currently. If that ever changes, you'll see this will switch to farming, just regular farming, not farming to pool. The neat thing about these Exos drives is they have firmware, which I've never had a hard drive. I've had SSDs have firmware, but never had a hard drive with firmware. So I had a blast. These were all over the place, updating these to the latest firmware. No idea what it improves or how much better it is, but I love to update firmware, so I got a kick out of that too. Sadly, these Western Digital purple drives and my other random drives I have in here do not do firmware updates. I think my PNY CS900, this is my 240 gig main system drive. That one you can see has a lot of firmware updates because SSDs are constantly getting, and this is just a SATA SSD. This isn't that fancy NVMe that I'm plotting on. This is faster than the spinny drives, but definitely not faster than that NVMe drive. Down here it shows the proofs that I found. And because I'm farming in a pool, when I find a proof, it's kind of like a lottery win. That section of it goes back to the pool. And then obviously no errors because everything I do is perfect. My machine never has errors. It runs fantastically all the time. I don't even have to say that. That's just a given. So we got the farmer is farming. Go back to the plotter is plotting. Oh, is it copied? No, it's not copied. It's fun when it copies because you can see the Ethernet max out, but I guess that'll be for another video. So I thought about it. I could not end this video without the absolute excitement that is an incoming plot. You can see here I'm bringing in 973 megabit, which is about the best you're going to get out of a gigabit connection. And let's look up here and we'll see which drive it's sending. Look at that, it's D drive. So D drive, one of my Exos drives, one of the new ones, is getting the full blast of that gigabit connection into it. And it's not even, it can write, I've seen it go up to 250 megaseconds, so this is not full speed, but it's capped. The gigabit network connection is absolutely saturated. I love to see a saturated gigabit connection. It's not as good as a firmware update, but it's still pretty good. So my saturated Ethernet connection, full gigabit coming in from my laptop now, has no problem writing to this D drive. So the slowest thing I have is still the plot. The network can get it to the farmer can write it to the drive. Everything's great. It's just this Ethernet, or it's just the plot timing still, the 77-minute plot time. So this laptop blast of a plot will be done plenty of time before my desktop is done. You can see here, I'm still at, I still got probably another 10 minutes before this one gets going. So I wanted to see you the incoming completely saturated gigabit network controller, because that, I mean, everybody wants to see that. That is an absolute blast. I can't believe you did it. You watched the whole damn video, and your reward is Farmer on the Wall After Hours. Look at that. 117 watts. It might get down to 100. We'll see. Usually it does. Depends on the hard drives. Got that classic RGB. Look at that thing. Oh my God. Hard drive's going nuts. It just won't stop writing. Look at this fancy, the network lights. It's just networking. It's not gigabitting, but it's close. Got all these external drives. Look at that glow. It's not quite RGB, but it's still pretty good. Let's get real quiet. We'll get up close to one of these drives here. Oh yeah. You hear it clicking around? They're all clicking. All them arms running around on them platters. It's just trying to write as much Chia as it can. It's amazing. Look at these lights. Some activity. Yep, we got some activity on the... There it is. Oh, the PCI SATA just did some activity. Oh, got some... Look at that blur. It can't even... This is so awesome. It can't even... The blur. So back to the RGB. Let's see. Are we down to... Oh, 108 watts. It's getting down there. That's pretty low. That's low consumption right there. Just 108 watts for this amazing thing on the wall. I can't even believe it. It was worth it. You did it. You watched the whole video. This is your reward. You're welcome.